Good morning. Uh, I got up at about 3 o'clock in the morning to do this video. But anyway, uh, we are currently looking at pages 102 and pages 103. And the QR code that you scanned shows Cyrus the Great on page 102. But uh, you cannot have Cyrus the Great of Persia without having the Elamites because Cyrus was an Elamite, and Elam was the seed of Shem, and the Persians descended from the Elamites. And you can find that in Josephus' writings. The book is called The Antiquity of the Jews. Now, even though the focus of this synopsis or overview is going to be on Cyrus the Great on page 102 of this new book, Genesis Volume 1, I want to read a little history to see just how did we get to Cyrus the Great, as opposed to just bombarding you with the information of Cyrus now. I want to start this overview of Cyrus the Great and dealing with some numbers concerning Solomon's temple, because this is going to become relevant down the line when we see that Nebuchadnezzar destroys the temple, Solomon's temple. So I want to take a look at it. I want to give you some pertinent information that's missing from your Bibles. First thing is my creation date that I came up with was 4142 BC, an accurate date for the creation. And then what I did was it was real simple. I took the number of years that was used up every time a son was born uh, to one of the elders in that fifth chapter of Genesis. And I came up with this number right here. 1,656 years had elapsed from the creation of Adam, this 4,142, to the flood. And you can fact check this. I would fact check this number right now while I'm talking. Then I went down to the 11th chapter of Genesis. From Shem to the birth of Abraham was 292 years. You can fact check that. It's real simple. You just subtract out the years of Shem uh, right after the flood. I think the first number was 2 years after the flood. Arphaxad was born. You subtract that number out. Then you find out how long Arphaxad lived before his son was born, and you subtract those numbers out. So that number totaled 292 years. Then it was real simple. I knew that Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born, so I subtracted that number out. I knew that Isaac was 60 when the twins, Esau and Jacob, were born, whom we call Yaqub. I knew that Joseph was 91. I mean, Jacob was 91 when Joseph was born. And that's an interesting number. And you say, well, how is that possible? Well, it's real simple. If you go back and read, I think it was the 47th. Don't quote me on this. This is not even supposed to be a part of the dialogue this morning. Here it is right here. But if you go back to the book of Genesis, I want to make sure that I give you the correct chapter. You go back to Genesis, you'll find a conversation where Pharaoh Senuseret, uh, when he met Jacob, he asked him a question. He said, "Man, how old are you?" Which means Jacob must have been looking a little worn physically. I thought it was in the 47th chapter. Hold on for a minute. It's not part of the lesson, but I do this from time to time, so you might as well see me do it. Okay, it's the 45th chapter. This is 47th chapter. I thought it was the 47th chapter. I was right. Here it is. It was actually, I was right. Genesis 47 and 7. This is how I got the number for the age of Jacob when Joseph was born. And Joseph brought in Jacob his father and set him before Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob, how old are you? And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of my pilgrimage are 130 years. So when Jacob, yep, that would happen. When Jacob meets Pharaoh, he's a with Pharaoh Senuseret the second, he is 130 years old. So it's real simple. I knew that based on this information, he's 130. So then what I did was I knew that Joseph was 30 when he sat on the throne. By the time Jacob got there were 5 years remaining of the years of famine. So 7 years of plenty had come and gone, and 2 years of the famine had come and gone. And I'll show you that number. So I took 130 minus 39, and I got, let me see, what did I get? I got 91. And that's how it was done, 91 years. So this is how I said, man, once I saw that, I said, wow, Jacob was Jacob was 70, 71, 72 years old when he left his mother's house. And he was an old man, as far as we're concerned, when he married that girl Rachel. Now we know why Rachel was a little barren. She might have been up there in years. But I want to go a little further than this. And you can look at this yourself on your own time, because again, this is not part of the overview. But there's a communication where Jacob is telling his father, look, the 7 years of plenty have come and gone, and there are 5 years of the famine left. So maybe at some point in the future, I'll do a piece on that as I break out the 12th dynasty of Egypt. Now, getting back to the structured overview, Jacob was 91 when Joseph was born. Joseph was 17 when he enters Egypt as a captive. Now, people have always tried to determine or ascertain when does the Lord begin his count. Did he begin his count when Abraham went down to Egypt? No. The Lord started his count the day that Joseph entered Egypt. So Joseph goes as a 17-year-old. Then the Lord tells you by the mouth of the prophet Abraham that Israel, or the Hebrews at that time, Abraham, yeah, at that time there was no such thing as Israel, because Jacob, or Jacob, had not been born, and his name had not been changed yet. I mean, Jacob is not going to be born for what? Let me see, 160, another 160 years. So I knew that there was going to be 430 years, a 430-year captivity. And scriptures teach this. And then First Kings, this I want to read this one because First Kings gives you a clue. It says, First Kings, the 6th chapter, in the 1st verse. This is during the rulership of King Solomon. And the reason why this intro is important is because we got all these bad dates out here from these seminaries, these seminary schools, and a lot of these ministers. But anyway, let's go. First Kings 6:1. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Israel will come up out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign. Okay, so I knew that number that was given to me. So I subtracted out 480 years. Now that 480 years, let me see, 396 of those years, let me make sure. Yep, 396 of those years were the year of the judges. So if I took 480 minus 396, 17, 1, 4. Wow. 396 of those years were the time of the judges. And so once I got this number, and I know these numbers are sure, these numbers are facts. I knew that the fourth year of Solomon's reign was 1016 BC. Well, the book says that it took him 7 years, so he started building in the fourth year of his reign. I'm gonna finish reading. It says, in the month Ziph, which is the second month, that he began to build the house of the Lord. So he started in the fourth year of his reign. And then verse 38, that's going to be First Kings 6 and 38, is going to give you the exact the length of time, or Adiak, Mon, Yam. You like time, you could say Yam. You could say like a space, a space of days, or a space of years. You space of months. You could say Hadash. Uh, but that's another subject entirely. But verse 38, First Kings 6 and 38, in the 11th year, in the month Bul, which is the eighth month, was the house finished throughout all its parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it, so was he 7 years. Shabo 7 years. You could say Shanyam years. So the correct date for the Rosh, the beginning of Solomon's temple, is 1016 BC. The uh, the completion date for the temple is 1009 BC. And again, I know we're dealing with Cyrus, but I want to do a lead up to Cyrus. So let's go. Let's continue. Now, uh, the next scenario that we have is we have the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. And we know that when Nebuchadnezzar came down in 587, he destroyed the temple in Jerusalem. And the Babylonian Chronicles mention Jeconiah and King Zedekiah. In fact, the Babylonian Chronicle says Nebuchadnezzar, camped against the city of Judah, and on the second day of the month, Adar, he took the city and he captured the king Jehoiakim. He appointed a king of his own choice, Zedekiah, took its heavy tribute and brought them to Babylon. So this Babylonian cylinder records the deportation of Jehoiakim and the installation of his uncle, the false king of Judah. So he was not, he was an uncle, but he wasn't the one that was supposed to be the next king in line. But I want to go and I want to make a quite quick read of this. I don't want to belabor the point, but I always say this: the oldest history book in existence happens to be the King James Bible, and it's full of pertinent, real history. I want to go to 2 Kings, the 24th chapter, in the 10th verse, and it reads like this. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he, his mother, his servants, his princes, his officers, and the king of Babylon took him in the eighth year of his reign. Now the book said, I'm going to skip down to verse 15. I got that. And he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, the king's mother, the king's wives, his officers, and the mighty of the land, those carried he into captive from Jerusalem, or Yarushalem, since there was no letter J at that time, back to Babylon. Verse 17. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. So the uncle became king. He was not Jehoiakim. Son should have been next in line if he had had a son. In fact, Book don't even say he had a son here. Anyway, watch this. I'm gonna read verse 19 to show you uh, the mindset of these kings of Judah after David and Solomon, and maybe Rehoboam. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. So now we got a young king, a young foolish king, and the Most High's great it had to deal with him just like he dealt with his nephew. So 2 Kings 25:1, I'm going to read 3 verses from here. 2 Kings 25:1 says, and it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his host, against Jerusalem and pitched against it. And they built forts around about. So they came and they besieged the city. Verse 6. So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon to Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him. And the Hebrew word for judgment is Dan, Dana, or Dan. It means to judge. It means to plead. Like the book said, Lord's going to plead with you. He's going to Dan with you. He's going to judge you. Okay. Verse 7. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah and bound him. 2 words for bind, cashier and alom, with fetters of brass, and carried him to Babylon. So they killed his 2 sons. Well, they slew his sons, plural. Let him see that's the last thing he saw. And they took him up to Babylon. And what did they do afterwards? I want to see, because the book tell you, here it is, verse 9. And he burnt the house of the Lord and the king's house and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burnt he with fire. And then in another place it goes on to tell you that they cut all the gold off Solomon's temple. Solomon's temple was worth, I think, billions or trillions of dollars. It was made out overlaid with gold. And the Babylonians cut the gold off and took it back with them. The temple itself, it was like it was one of the greatest treasures in that generation in the known world at that time. And I did a little schematic for you down here where I show you that Solomon's temple was finished in 1009 BC. It was destroyed in 587 BC by Nebuchadnezzar. And then I showed you that this temple lasted for 422 years. That temple lasted longer than some nations have been nations, even in our generation. I want to go a little further in this. And again, I want to lead up to Cyrus the Great. Here's an image of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. It comes to you from Etaminaki Ziggurat in Babylon, or the Tower of Babel. The stele is found in the British Museum. This is one of the oldest reliable artifacts of King Nebuchadnezzar, or Chetnezzar, and it was carved into the wall, carved into the stone, I mean. And you can see the depiction of the man. And this is verified, and it is accurate. And some of you out there, if you're a Hebrew and you're looking at this video, you are astonished. To prove the existence of Jehoiakim, this ration tablet was found in ancient Babylon, and it gives a record of the oil ration for King Jehoiakim and his sons while they were prisoners in Babylon. So this ration tablet made out of clay validates the existence of Jehoiakim. And if Jehoiakim existed, then we have validation for Jehoiakim. But let's go a little further in this. And again, I have not forgotten this overview is supposed to be aimed at Cyrus, but I want to lead up to Cyrus. Now, these two seals were found in Jerusalem, and these were the seals of King Zedekiah's ministers. And one is called, I want to show you that these two people existed. I want to go to Jeremiah, the 38th chapter, and then I want to pick it up at verse 1, Jeremiah 38 and 1. Jeremiah 38 and 1. And it reads like this. Then Shephatiah, the son of Matan, and Gedaliah, the son of Pashur, and Jukal, the son of Shelmiah, and Pashur, the son of Malchiah. And this first seal is Yahukel, and Yahukel or Yaakov. And that's where they got the word Jew. Where is it? That's where they got the word Jew called from, right? Jew called. But there's no such thing as Jew called. So if you saw this and you had never seen the original writing or heard the pronunciation, you would not have known. You would be like, who is this? This is him. Jew call is Yahoo call. And it says be in. And you can't say it means be in. This is like the Beth, the Nun, Bon, Bana, which means son, and this is SHLPYH, Shiflia. Where is it? Shalima. See? Shali, SHLMY, Shalima. Hey. Looks like this might be a noun, but this is Shalima. Hey for a noun. And then it says Abi, which is my father. That's what it looks like it's saying right here. But this is a good seal. And then this seal right here talks about Gedaliah. And here it is right here. Jeremiah 38, where it says, Shephatiah, the son of Matan, and Gedaliah, the son of Pashur. And it says 2 or 4, this is a prefix, 2 or 4, Gada, Gdlyh, Gedaliah. And it looks like it has I don't know what that symbol is on the end. It looks like it's a wall, which if this symbol is the wall, it's him. 2 Gedaliah, him. Bone, right here, bone of this Pashur, Shin He Resh, Pashur. So these are two good seals, and they validate the existence of two of the servants of the prophet of the king Zedekiah. So the Bible is given evidence that Zedekiah and his servants were real people, historical individuals. Now, Jeremiah starts praying. And again, I know you're saying, hey, what does this have to do with Cyrus? This is a lead up to Cyrus. Jeremiah understood that there was a 70-year prophecy that Israel would be carted off into a captivity. And I want to read this. Daniel. God reveals to Jeremiah that Israel is going to go into a captivity that's going to last 70 years, and Daniel's going to pick up on it in the future, leading to Darius the Mede and Cyrus the Great. They're going to come into I always like to say this about the Lord. He's like the greatest Safar. Safar means book and scribe. And he's the greatest scribe ever. I mean, think about this. You could write a story that starts 6,000 years ago and have this perfect storyline from the beginning of your story to Adam to the end of your story, the Father's kingdom on the eighth day. And I said that for you all that have understanding. Now, look, I want to read this, Jeremiah 29:4, because, again, it's a lead up to Cyrus the Great. 29:4. I'm going to read like 3 verses. 4th verse says, I'm in Jeremiah the 29th chapter, the 4th verse. Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to all that are carried away captive, whom I've called to be carried from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build you houses, dwell in them, plant gardens, and eat the fruit of them. Take you wives, and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be increased there and not diminished. I like that. I'm going to read this one because this is relevant to some of the brothers, some of the voices that are out there in America. Seek the peace of the city where I've called you to be carried away captive, and pray unto the Lord for in the peace thereof shall you have peace. We got people talking out here talking about the fall of America. America is going to fall. No, man, stop. We should stop saying that. We are here. Our son, the bones of our people are here. Our great grandparents, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, their bones are here. So if evil befalls America, guess what? We have a right to what? Stand up and defend the country because we are here and our loved ones are here. So we need to stop preaching the downfall of America and preach the uplifting of America, the safeguard of America by the living God. That's all I got to say about that. And that's aimed at a particular group of people. Stop talking about the downfall of America, the destruction of America. We are here. You know, Moses didn't do that in the wilderness when Yahweh or the Lord, he told Moses, he said, stand over here. I'm gonna destroy these people, and I'm gonna make a greater nation of you. Moses interceded for the Hebrews, and the Lord heard his cry. What's that word? Shemole Sak heard his cry, and the Lord knockaham or know him. He repented of the evil that he was going to do. So look, let's go a little further in this. Verse 8. I don't want to read that. I want to read verse 10. I want to read verse 10. It says in verse 10, for thus said the Lord, that after 70 years, Shaboyam Shan, 70 years. After 70 years be accomplished in Babylon, I will visit you, Pekadum, and perform my good word to you, and causing you to return to this place. This was the prophecy. So when does the Lord begin his count? Does he begin his count when Zedekiah goes into captivity in 587 BC? No. The Lord begins his count with Jehoiakim. Remember, Jehoiakim entered into a covenant with Nebuchadnezzar, and that was in 609 BC. In 609, he enters into the covenant, he breaks the covenant. Well, guess what? The Lord does the count from Jeroboam. Go back and do the math. I mean, not Jeroboam, from Jehoiakim. So in 609 BC, if you subtract out 70 years, that would bring you down to 539 BC. That'll bring you down to the year that Cyrus became king over the entire world. Now, I want to show you something about this seal. This is the Baruch seal. And I want to go and I want to take a quick, I just want to touch on it just briefly because there's relevant information on these seals that's relevant to you as a young scholar or an aged scholar, Zakan scholar. So let's go to Jeremiah, the 36th chapter, and the 4th verse, and it reads, Then Jeremiah called Baruch, the son of Neriah, and Baruch wrote from the mouth of Jeremiah all the words of the Lord, which he had spoken unto him upon a roll of a book. See, these people had books. This was a civilized society. You generally, when you read the Bible, you focused on the religious part of the Bible, but you don't realize there's a whole lot of technology that's taking place right before our eyes. Barbaric people is a people that don't possess an alphabet. These people, these Hebrews, were reading, writing, had books. They even had a university. You go back and read the story of Deborah. The book said they had a college in Jerusalem or Yarushalayim. Anyway, verse 6. Did I read verse 5? No, verse 5. And Jeremiah commanded Baruch, saying, I'm shut up. Can I go into the house of the Lord? Verse 6. Therefore go thou and read in the roll which thou hast written from my mouth, the words of the Lord in the ears of the people, in the Lord's house upon the fasting day. And also thou shalt read them in the ears of all Judah that come unto the cities. Verse 8. And Baruch the son of Neriah did according to all that Jeremiah the prophet commanded him, reading in the book the words of the Lord in the Lord's house. Well, look, we have a seal here called the Baruch seal. Now, in Hebrew or in Aramaic, Baruch means blessed. It means blessed. And this man was blessed. He was hanging out with the prophet. He was one step from God, from knowing God himself. Lord loved Barak, but there's something interesting about the seal that you have to recognize. But if you're a scholar, you're going to know. So I looked at the seal, and I look at them and I say, okay, if it's real, if it's a real seal, if it's valid or authentic, then it should meet a certain criteria. Well, I looked at it. Now look at this seal. This is what you're going to see. You got the lamid. You can barely see it over here, but you can see it plainly here. That's the L backwards. It means 2 or 4. Then you got the Beth, Resh, Kaf, Yod, what we call it, the Het. And it has the Ashkenazis and the Sephardic Jews, the Het has a silent, it has an invisible K sound. So you get Barak, Ka. And then the Yod in the middle says me or ma. Baraka, me, or ma, to me, Barak. And then right here it says bone, here, Beth, none, bone has 3 meanings. Let me see, it has 2 meanings. Bana can mean son, and it can mean to build. So you have to be careful when you see this. And again, when you're setting up sentences and you translate from stones and manuscripts, you always put the son in and to build, and then you just keep working. And as the sentence plays out, you'll know which one to use. Now, he says, Bana, B-N, Beth Nun. Check this out. N-R-Y-H. Neri. Well, the book said in verse 4, Jeremiah called Barak the son of Neri. So this seal is what? This seal is valid. And it validates the scriptures that these people were actually historical people. And now this is the thing that excited me. That's on the very bottom of the seal. It says, Hey Safar. This is the letter H, hey. It means the as a prefix, because this is a prefix. And it says Safar, S-P-R, Safar. So the P has, the P, even like in English, it could be P or it could have an F sound. Now check this out. This is what was really exciting about this. Safar means book in Aramaic. But guess what? It also means scribe. So it says, Hey Safar, the book, or Hey Safar, the scribe. It's just, and then when you go back and you do your research on the word itself, the research it came back like 100 scrap and book. So, so like if you say, hey, I wrote a book, a na, tab, a na ta, tabal or tab safar. If you say, I'm the writer, you could say, uh, ahe, how would I say that? Ahe, and I would say the writer. I would say tab yam, I'm the writer. And so you as you begin to evolve in your classes, in these classes, and in these different chapters that you're gonna become extremely excited as started as you start putting your little words together and start formulating your sentences. It's gonna bring you joy. Now, before we go any further, you have to ask yourself the question. I hear this thing in Israel amongst these Hebrews that you don't have to learn uh, or learn how to read, write, translate, and speak Hebrew for salvation. That's correct. You don't have to learn, read, write, read and write Italian, Spanish, Swahili, or any of the other African languages for salvation. But the Lord told you to occupy till He come, and you can see the value. You can see the value in learning Hebrew from what we just did with these seals. There's great value in this. And you cannot allow people to dissuade you or turn you away from speaking another language. The Apostle Paul had the testimony of the Roman centurion asked him, man, he said, canst thou speak Greek? He said, aren't you that Egyptian that led these 4,000 men out into the wilderness, these murderers? Paul spoke Greek. He also spoke Aramaic. And we know he spoke Aramaic because he was from Cilicia or Tarsus. That city or country was located in ancient Anatolia. And those people spoke Aramaic. All the ancient stones from 850 BC written in the same exact alphabet that we're looking at. But I want to get back to the lesson. I've strayed from the subject. And now we have finally got down to Darius. When you start looking at Darius the Mede, then guess who comes next? Cyrus the Great. So we pushing down. We've moved forward. I think we started at the creation. We worked our way down to Solomon's temple. We worked our way down to 12th dynasty of Egypt with brother Yosef or brother Yosef or brother Joseph. And now we finally made it down to 530. Now, actually, not 539 BC, but roughly 560, 580 BC. And I want to look at this. I want to go to Daniel, the ninth chapter, the first verse, and show you that now Israel had books, Daniel was referring to these books. Daniel, the ninth chapter, and the first verse. I'm almost done. And I hope that this was inspiring or that you got something out of this. I want to go to Daniel, the ninth chapter, and the first verse. Watch this. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. In the first year of his reign, verse 2, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books. Oh, these brothers had books. The number of the years where the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. So the prophecy was just like in Jeremiah, I think it was, I don't know, was it the 24th or 25th chapter, where the Lord said, hey man, it's going to be 70 years. So the Lord had said he was upset with Israel for 70 years. So he sent Israel into the captivity, Abadah. Or if you talk about, he said he scattered Yisrael. He poots, and it's spelled P-S-P-A-S or P-A-S. And then again, the Ashkenazis have under it's called the Tasada. It's an invisible T, so it would be poots as opposed to pasa. But to me, if you said pasa to me, I would get it. But anyway, so he says it's going to be 70 years, this captivity. So let's go down to Daniel 5 and 24 and see what took place. 5 and 24 should be marked off. It is not, but it is. Man, Daniel 5 and 24 says, Then was the part of the hand sent from him. Well, this king had a dream. You're going to have to go back and read it on your own because I took up so much time straying away from my subject. And so I would just simply tell you to read the whole chapter. And this is the writing that was written. Many, many, tickle, tickle, you farsa. This is the interpretation, verse 26. This is the interpretation of the thing. Many. God have numbered that kingdom and finished it. Well, many in Hebrew and Aramaic also means to multiply, to increase. Tico. Thou art weighed in the balance and are found wanting. We say like call, or call, K-L or K-O-L means all or everything. And in Perez, the kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. So at one point, the Medes and the Persians were confederate. They was all on the same basketball team, so to speak. You know, just one big happy family. But the Lord had revealed to the prophet Daniel that this family thing was this relationship between the Medes and the Persians was going to be broken up. Let's go to Daniel, the 8th chapter, in the first verse. And if you looking at my screen, which you probably undoubtedly are, because you scanned that QR code, you're looking at an image of Darius the Great. Or Darius the Mede. And this is Darius the Mede. And this artifact you can find at the British Museum, and you can also find it on the Persepolis of Iran. Persepolis means the Persian palace. Persepolis, the Persian palace. And this is Darius the Mede. But let's go to Daniel, 8th chapter. I want to pick it up at verse 1. I got to read you a couple of verses. We're almost through. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared to me at the first. Verse 2. And I saw in a vision, and it was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. I saw in the vision, I was by the river of Ulat. Verse 3. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, Shanae Karna, 2 horns, 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but the one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. Now, you'd have to be Ray Charles to miss this one. These 2 horns, one was the Medes, and the other one was the Persians. But the Lord said the higher horn was going to come up last. Horns represent nations and kingdoms. And you're going to see that this symbolism used even in the 17th chapter of Revelations, when the Lord is dealing with the great whore. He said, and she had a crown on her head, and she had 7 heads and 10 horns. And he goes on to tell you that these 10 horns became 10 kingdoms that fought against the whore. But that's another lesson altogether. I just wanted to mention that in passing. You can find this image also of Darius at the British Museum. And the Brits have everybody's history in their museums. The Brits, the French, what's it called? The Louvre Museum, the Pergamon Museum down in Berlin. All these other nations have everybody's history in their museums, and it's up to you to go into these museums and and grab your history and put it together. It's our history, the history of the world is like an oil barrel at sea. You know, like those oil barges, they break up at sea, and you have millions of tons of, you have tons, I would say tons of oil spread out in a particular section of the ocean. But all that oil that spread out came from one ship. It has to be gathered back. Now, one last thing. So he says, verse 4, I saw the ram pushing west and north and south so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out his hand. He did according to his will, and he became great. And who is he that became great? It was Cyrus the Great. In the book, he got that right. He became known as Cyrus the Great. Here's a picture of Cyrus the Great, king of Persia. I think this is from page 102 of Genesis volume 1, the book that you're reading. Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, descended from the Elamites, the sons of Shem. Again, you can find this at the Persepolis in Iran and the British Museum. And this is an authentic image of Cyrus. Now, just to give a little history on him, there's a cylinder that was written, or I don't know, one would think that since King Nabonidus was a king, that he had a scribe to take down his words. And they wrote this cylinder in this ancient language, but to me it looked just like it looks like those cuneiform tablets out of ancient Sumer, which doesn't look like much of a language at all. But you know, I say the same thing about the hieroglyphics of Egypt. That is not an alphabet to me. That's a bunch of symbolism. But anyway, here's an image of Nabonidus, king of Babylon, and he writes in the cylinder of Safar. And here it is. Here's that word again, and it's deceptive how it's being used. What is the word for book, and what is the word for scribe? So the cylinder of Safar. I want to go back and look at something. Give me a second. There it is again, Safar. You see it? SPR, Safar means what? To write or scribe, to write or book, or scribe or book. I mean, scribe or book. And here it is again. But it's Subhar, but it's really Safar, the cylinder of what? Of the scribe or the cylinder of the book. And guess what? It's at the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. It says Cyrus rebelled against the Medes with a small army. He defeated the Median troops, captured Astyages, and bringing them in chains into his land. So this little cylinder, it validates the existence of King Cyrus. And see, King Cyrus was known from the book first. I want to read, I'm not reading all this because I'm basically I want to get to the end and get to another video. Isaiah 45:1 mentioned Cyrus long before he invaded, he fought against the Medes. But let's see what the book says. Isaiah 45:1, thus said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I've holden. Oh, so God was with Cyrus. And I will loose the loins of kings, open for him the two-leaved gates. That's when they went into Babylon. Go back and read Josephus, the historian, the Hebrew historian, and he tells you that the Babylonians were feasted and got drunk, but Babylon was situated on the Euphrates River. And Cyrus they dammed the river and went under a dry riverbed into Babylon, and that's how they captured the city, uh, and didn't even shoot an arrow. Everybody was drunk. He says, verse 2, I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron. I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord. And at this time, he was the God of Israel was known as Yahweh or Yahweh. I have even called thee by name. It says that I, the Lord, which called thee by name, am the God of Israel. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect, I have even called thee by name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. So Lord say, man, I chose you. You didn't choose me. You don't even know me. But I'm gonna use you. I'm paraphrasing. I'm gonna use you to deliver my people from the hand of those that have held them captive. And I think I had another verse in here, verse 13. I have raised him up in righteousness. I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city. He shall let go my captives, not for price nor reward, said the Lord of hosts. So when he let Israel go, he let Israel go free. This is the reason why Cyrus, this is one of the greatest acts that Cyrus, the king of Persia, the Elamite king, and I want to hit you with a brain freeze. Cyrus was a descendant of Elam, who was the baby son. Is that right? Elam was the son of Shem. Let me make sure before, because we're almost done anyway. I'm going to Genesis, the 10th chapter. And look at, I want to make sure I say this correctly. It's going out into the world. Genesis 10. Genesis, the 10th chapter, and the sons of Shem. Yes, here it is. The son of Genesis 10 and 22, the children of Shem, Elam. So, so Cyrus the Great and the Elamites and the Persians, one and the same, were descended from Elam, the son of Shem. But that might have been another one of the reasons why he let Israel go. We know that God was with him, and the Lord had put it in his mind to return Israel back to Jerusalem. But he was also a family member. He was fam, like they say. He was family. Let's go to Ezra 1 and 1 and see what did he say out of his own mouth concerning this event, because he showed a whole lot of love to the God of Israel, because the Most High set him up to be king. Ezra's first chapter and the first verse. Now watch this. Ezra 1 and 1. Now the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah again, the 70 years, might be fulfilled. The Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation through all his kingdom, saying, thus, verse 2, thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven, have given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath a charge of me to build him a house in Jerusalem. Verse 3, who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Jerusalem, and build a house of the Lord of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem. So he let the people go free. And you can read Ezra, the second chapter, verse 63 and 64, 42,360 Jews, Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, returned from out of the captivity. I know that this was a little lengthy, but I wanted to give you a little background, and I want to give you enough. I want to drop some more meat on your plate before we got to Solomon. Cyrus the Great. We saw the creation date. We saw the total years used up to the flood, the total years from Shem to the birth of Abraham, Jacob's birth, how old Jacob was. He was an old timer, 91 years old when Joseph was born. No wonder he had that tender heart toward Joseph. He was an old man. Could you imagine what he was doing? He was rolling in his 70s. He was rolling stones from off wells that because I think the story when he met Rahel or Rachel, it's really Rahel. First thing he did was he rolled the stone back. These guys was they were not feeble men. I want to go a little further. You know what? I want to correct that. He didn't roll the stone back. It was Moses that rolled the stone back. But Jacob helped Rachel uh, to feed the flock when he came down uh, to meet Laban when he was fleeing from his brother Esau. That's a correction. Also, like it just goes to show you, you may be you may be the best at what you do, whether it's in accounting, uh, you know, engineering, an attorney. You could be a governor or a king or a president. But sometimes the Lord saves the best for last. So it's not how you start the race, it's how you end your race. And no matter what you're going through, stay on the wall. You in college, you taking classes, you pursuing knowledge to know the living God. You in somebody's seminary school, you know, see it through. Like we say, always see you at the finish line.